There's a type of guy who thinks music is just entertainment. He blasts whatever trending, lets lyrics preach to him, and never questions what he is feeding, spoon-feeding into his soul. Let's call him Playlist Zombie Parker. Parker doesn't realize his mood, his thoughts, his desires, and even his identity are being shaped, manipulated, and maneuvered by music. He thinks he's choosing the music by himself, but the music is choosing the man he becomes. Then there's the other kind of man, Rownan. Rownan is someone who understands that music is spiritual and meant for worship. He knows that God designed music for worship and not for brain rot. He guards his heart and his mind because he knows music can shape his thoughts and his life. For today's video, let's call him Spirit Tuned In Rownan. Rownan knows something that many people just don't understand. What you listen to eventually becomes what you live out. And today we're breaking down how music affects your brain and why God created it for something far deeper than just background noise. Let's open the project. Phase 1, music rewires your brain, for better or for worse. 1 Samuel 16:23. It talks about how David's music drove away the tormenting spirit from Saul. Music literally changes your brain's chemistry. It releases dopamine, shapes neural pathways, and influences your emotional state. That's why certain songs make you feel powerful, sad, angry, or nostalgic. The point is, music bypasses logic and goes straight to your emotion. It doesn't ask for permission to go there. It just enters. If you constantly listen to music filled with lust, pride, sadness, anger, and emptiness, don't be surprised if things start showing up in your life or things start getting rid in your life. Listen to me. Music is not God and it doesn't control the universe. No. But when you feed your soul certain things start to at least come out. And the way that you become, the way that you're treated is different because the way then you treat people is different. The easiest way I can say this is that if your music playlist is as bad as your last relationship, you might want to switch up what you're listening to. Phase 2. Music was designed for worship and not chaos. Psalm 150 says, "Let everything that has breath praise the Lord." Before music was entertainment, it was worship. Heaven is filled with music. Not lo-fi, but the angels singing. Creation singing. God himself commands praise through sound. Music was never meant to glorify ego, sin, or rebellion. It was meant to align your heart with God. And I know some people are currently watching this because from churches, like teenagers from churches, because we've promoted it to some youth pastors. And I know you're probably watching this and you're like, I really like the music though. It's upbeat, it's fun. And most church music is just so boring and it's all the same. It all talks about the same things. And to that, I have to be honest with you. I get it. These songs are great. These love songs are great. But don't you think that when you listen to sad music, what's gonna come out? You being sad. Now, there is some psychology that says that if you listen to sad music, at the same time that you're sad, it could comfort you because you believe that someone else is sad with you. But it's also based on fleeting emotions. Stoicism is something I've been recently researching and trying to get myself into. It's not an atheism or anything like that. It's basically having a calm demeanor in high stakes situations. And a lot of people believe that it's, you're nonchalant, you don't care, you don't express your emotions. That's not what it is. It's about expressing your emotions in a way that's not crazy or acting a fool. But when you get into these emotional states, these fleeting emotions of lust, pride, sadness, all the bad emotions that in reality we don't want, okay? They can happen and it's okay. That's what Stoicism promotes, that it's okay to have those fleeting emotions. You just gotta be calm in them. But if you're not practicing Stoicism, what's gonna happen is that you're gonna take those fleeting emotions and it's gonna build up inside of you. They're gonna build up inside of you and you're gonna burst at some point. Whether it's a good burst or a bad burst, you're gonna burst, and bursting itself and bursting your emotion is not good. Listen, a lot of these songs today are just not good for you. I'll be so dead honest with you. They're not good for you. Why? See, you know the dangers of social media. I said this in the last video that I uploaded, or a couple of videos ago. I said, you know the dangers of social media. Why wouldn't you, restrict some things for yourself? Have some accountability for yourself. This goes with this as well. It is the same exact thing. Have accountability for yourself. You know the dangers of this now. You gotta have some accountability. See, when you fill your mind with worship, your spirit strengthens. But when you fill it with noise, your spirit weakens. Easiest way to explain it, if your playlist starts to sound like a villain origin story, might want to put a couple of worship songs on that playlist. Phase 3. Music shapes your desires, even when you don't notice. In Proverbs 4:23, it says, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Your heart makes decisions, and we make those choices based off these couple of things. Lyrics to us are sermons, so we make a choice off that. Beats are emotional triggers, and we make choices off of that. Culture knows this. They figured it out. They figured out how to manipulate you in such ways to believe things after listening to music. That's why the most popular songs preach the same messages. Do what you want. Follow your feelings. Chase pleasure and comfort, and forget consequences. If you meditate on worldly messages, you'll develop worldly ideologies and desires. If you meditate on godly messages, you'll develop godly desires. Ask yourself, is this song feeding my flesh or my spirit? And when you ask yourself, also make sure to understand, if it's feeding my flesh, what is it feeding my flesh? Because if it's feeding your flesh, spirit-filled songs, then it's gonna break down the flesh and demolish the flesh. But if it's feeding your flesh and feeding into your lustful, egotistical, sinful desires, then of course you're gonna be egotistical and stay in the flesh, which we don't want. If your playlist is basically a motivational speech for bad decisions, that's a good sign that it's probably a good time to change your playlist. Phase 4. Music influences your identity more than you think. Colossians 3:16 says, let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, singing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. People don't just listen to music, they become the music. Just like how, hey, here's something good. This doesn't really have anything to do with this, except it kind of relates to it a little bit. Hear me out. The internet is not a device, and it's not an AI algorithm anymore. It is you and I. It's both of us. It's everyone that's on social media is the internet now. We have become the internet. So in the same way as that, we have become the music. Music shapes fashion, attitude, worldviews, and behavior, and even world leaders. It creates tribes, cultures, and identities, which we just do not want. We want ethnicity, and we want to love ethnicity because God created ethnicity, but he did not create a culture. If you want to learn more about how culture is a cult, the video is either, I think it's up here, I think it's on the side. If you constantly listen to broken people singing about brokenness, you'll start to normalize brokenness in yourself. Choose music that reflects the man or the woman that you want to become, not the person you're trying to escape from. Oh, and listen, sometimes I'll grab my guitar. I don't have it in here, but whatever. So I'll grab my guitar because I want to escape from all the things that are happening around me. Is it a good thing? Maybe, maybe not. It's calming for sure, but when you intentionally listen to music that's not godly, that has no intention to be godly, you're escaping from reality when you need to stay in some reality. If your playlist makes you feel like the main character in a toxic movie, it's time for a plot twist, baby. Phase 5. Worship realigns your mind and it detoxes your soul. In Acts 16:25-26, it talks about Paul and Silas worshipped and the prison shook open. Worship isn't just singing, it's spiritual warfare. It breaks chains, it shifts atmospheres, and it restores peace in your life. It reminds your soul who God is. I'm about to tell you something that I do, personally. I see God as a king, always sitting on his throne, always going to be higher than who I am, always immortal, always transcendent of time and space. I see him as that. So whenever I worship, listen, I do this sometimes, but most of the time I kneel down, face down, as a beggar in worship. Because I see him as the ultimate authority. And if you see him as the ultimate authority, you should do the same thing too, because he is someone you should give full and complete obedience to. What he says and what he believes. And what he says is right and wrong, because he is the author of truth, and truth is what is right and wrong. There's no bending it. He's the author of truth and right and wrong, so you should follow what the man says, even if for some reason you're human nature and what all the things that you have accumulated through the past times of your life doesn't matter. You should follow what he says is right and wrong if you are a believer. Let me go back onto this subject. Sorry. When you worship, your brain calms, your spirit strengthens, and your perspective resets. Replace the noise with praise. Replace chaos with clarity, and replace culture with Christ. If worship music doesn't hit at least once a day, your soul might be running on low battery mode, to be honest. Psalm 96, verse 1. Sing to the Lord a new song, sing to the Lord all the earth. See, I think for that verse, the Gen Z version would be something like, praise the Lord all the day, bro. Let all the peeps understand who he is. That's what I think that would be. Listen, you live life once. What are you going to do about it?